When playing Chrono Odyssey, you're going to have to make a lot of very important decisions. These decisions could range from how you even gather experience, like gathering resources, processing, crafting, killing mobs, or just exploring the land of Cetera. Other decisions include how your character actually looks and choosing the best options that you have to customize your character to look and feel exactly how you want it. But regardless, the number one biggest decision is, of course, going to be what class are you going to select as you play Chrono Odyssey. Today's video, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on all 6 of these different classes, and especially a deeper dive on the 3 that we are going to be able to play in the upcoming beta. To be more specific, we have the Berserker, Ranger, Swordsman, Sorcerer, Paladin, and Assassin. In today's video, I actually have gameplay of all 6 of these, but again, the top 3 are where I have a majority of the content and will be providing some more information when compared to the other 3. And again, just to highlight these 3, we're talking about the Berserker on the left, the Ranger in the middle, and of course, the Swordsman on the right. So, luckily, we do have a handful of unique footage that really highlights the overall gameplay for these 3 classes. I do have some gameplay for the other 3 as well, but let's just go ahead and jump into our deep dive for these classes. And to start things off, let's start with the Berserker. Now, when you're looking at these class screens, the most important thing you have to notice is this red box right here on the right side of the screen, because each class specializes in 3 different weapons. While you're actually exploring the land of Cetera, you can have 2 of these 3 weapons equipped, and you can swap and alternate between the 2 and utilize certain skills and just utilize those 2 weapons for your primary combat gameplay. For the Berserker, you've got the Chain Blades, the Twin Axes, and of course, the Battle Axe. Now, I'll be showing some combat footage for all 3 of these weapons, but I do highly recommend that at least one out of the 2 weapons you utilize are the Chain Blades, and you're going to see why in just a second. But primarily, this is your opportunity to kind of get further reach to damage your enemies, as well as potentially close the gap between you and potential ranged foes. Now let's go ahead and look at some of the actual gameplay, starting with the Battle Axe, which is by far the slowest of the 3 weapons that the Berserker can use. However, it offers probably the most AoE skills to take down a large clump of enemies. The chain blades, as you can tell, are much faster. The overall damage output per swing is slightly less, but again, the attack speed is much faster. So it really depends on your overall gameplay and what you prefer. I do personally prefer the chain blades, especially when it comes to PvP. I just think that the overall reach of those is slightly longer than the other weapons, and you can close the gap if you do come across a ranged foe. The Berserker is a great choice for beginners as well. It has both a lot of utility for 1v1 content and, of course, large scale PvE content. Friendly reminder, if you are not subscribed yet, consider subscribing to my channel. I have a very deep dive on the Berserker guide coming soon, which includes the best skills and abilities to use based on certain aspects of the game. Next up, let's talk about the Ranger. The Ranger has 3 special weapons, just like every other class, and those include the bow, the crossbow, and the rapier. So let's go ahead and jump into some gameplay to kind of look at each of these weapons. Your bow is going to primarily be your primary source of DPS when it comes to the Ranger. You can see there's some single shots and then certain skills that blast an arrow through a large line of enemies. And you do have a lot of utility. And the Rapier kind of gives you some burst damage as well in case the enemies get a little bit too close for comfort. What I like about the crossbow in this class is that it does seem to provide a lot of crowd control abilities, including some frost-like skills that kind of slow down enemies, and the overall attack speed just feels really good when you're shooting someone with your crossbow. Again, the Ranger is a great option to play if you are new to these genres of games, because you do have an initial gap between you and the enemies, and it's a little bit of a safety net until they get a little bit too close. But again, lots of crowd control, lots of elemental specific skills when it comes to the Ranger, and a lot of overall fun that you can have with this class. To be completely honest, I would consider the Ranger the most beginner-friendly class out of the three that you can select from in the upcoming beta, especially if you're in a group, because again, you don't have to stress about the enemy dishing off tons and tons of damage right on top of you. You can create some distance and still dish off a decent amount of damage and just learn a little bit more about the combat system slowly as you kind of hit from a distance and play it a little bit safer than some of the other classes. Next up, we have the Swordsman. The three options you have for weapons with the Swordsman include the Greatsword, the Sword and Shield, and the Dual Blades. So each of these three weapons are very, very unique, which makes the Swordsman a bit of a unique and fun class, right? You've got the Greatsword, which are similar to the Berserker's Battle Axe, honestly. They're a bit slow, but offer tons and tons of AoE damage and just high damage output altogether. The Sword and Shield is very, very fun as well because you can go from offense to defense very, very quickly. In my opinion, if you plan on playing solo, then I do think that the Swordsman might be one of the better options, primarily because you can alternate between offensive and defensive very, very quickly. Plus, I also like how you can quickly change your weapons based on the type of content you're doing. For example, if you are in a 1v1 battle with some sort of boss like creature, then you typically will probably want to go with like sword and shield and then your dual blades just to dish off tons of damage very, very quickly on a single target. If you are grinding out low level mobs and taking down tons at a time, then you might want to utilize the greatsword just to make it a lot faster, do a bunch of AoE skills, take them down, get the XP, and move on. That now covers the first three classes which you can select from the beta, but we have three more very interesting ones, including the Sorcerer, which has the option to use a staff, a mana sphere, which is kind of like an orb, and then also a book, which you can dish off unique spells with. We do have some great gameplay as well from previous teaser content. You can see that with a staff, you can utilize different elemental spells, including fire and ice to even like freeze enemies in place. You also will have the ability to utilize the staff for tons of crowd control like options. It looks like there's also some lightning spells that include there. It seems like out of all of the classes that the sorcerer has the most flexibility when it comes to utilizing different elements, which could be very helpful based on the enemy you're targeting. The book also looks very, very interesting because it looks like the overall attack speed is pretty quick. You can throw out fireballs and explosive AoE damage, and it looks like there may even be some support-like options with the book, whether it's healing or providing buffs to your allies, but again, time will tell. Next up, we have the Paladin, which you can utilize the Lance, the Halberd, and the Mace for. Lots of unique options, and honestly, the weapons for the Paladin look very, very good. It seems like this class really utilizes lightning as the primary element for a lot of the skills and even like basic attacks by the looks of it. Again, we don't have a ton of footage today for the Paladin, but you can see this guy is flipping all around. His weapon is basically just shocking and flying around with electricity. There's sparks coming from him, and it seems like it would be a lot of fun to utilize this class down the road. Stay tuned because we have some more footage coming soon as well for this class. And last but not least, we have the Assassin, which utilizes the saber, the wrist blades, and the musket as weapon options. The Assassin is essentially the rogue-like class for Chrono Odyssey. It seems like there is a lot of flexibility. You can kind of attack from a distance, attack up close, and get pretty personal. There's some acrobatics going on. You actually can utilize a gun. You can utilize a musket from a distance and just shoot down your enemies. I do think that this class will eventually have a huge advantage when it comes to PvP content, but again, time will tell. And that really covers it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and consider subscribing because each of the 6 classes I covered today, I will be going much, much more in depth in down the road where I kind of call out every single skill that is offered and my thoughts on the best skills to utilize based on certain types of content you'll be coming across. Thanks again, and I look forward in seeing all of you guys soon in Cetera.